So, my first impressions of BioMutant, a RPG action adventure title by THQ Nordic, the same producers or is it publishers of the Darksiders games actually. So, starting off, we get with the builds here. So there are multiple different types: the Primal, the Dumdon, the Rex, the Hylia, the Fip, and the Murgle. Now each one comes with a sort of varied stat that is more advanced. One is vitality, or one is strength, or intellect, or agility, or charisma, or luck. Now I went with the one I think with charisma. That's the one I went with, which is I'm not even really sure. But character creation is one of those things that takes the most time, right? And I spent the most time on this, just like I think anybody else would. I spent about a good 30-45 minutes just kind of going through the different builds, reading up a little bit on the lore that they have at the top of the screen here, and just getting an idea of what the game would give me based on what I created. And there's a lot of variety actually, even in just the starters. After choosing our starter build, then we get to mutate our character. Now this is where it gets a little interesting, because based on what you focus on, it changes how your character looks. So you go up in the strength, you look a bit more brutish, you get a bigger body, shoulders. More vitality, you look like a rabbit, right? So there was this balancing act of trying to get the most out of what you're going for. You see charisma, you get a little bit of a bigger, more honest looking face, I guess that's what they were going for. Larger ears, more of a smile, a more honest look, right? And then the intellect makes you smaller and gives you a bigger head, right? And agility makes you a little bit more sleek and like speedy. You see, look, intellect, you got that big ass head. So I was trying to sort of balance out the charisma and agility at first, because I wanted to be a little faster too, but I figured they were crossing each other, so I probably couldn't get too much out of it. But depending on where you put the left stick, you get a little bit more in one category than you may have in the other. Now, most people probably would prefer to, focus, narrow it down, but I opted for a more charisma-based, balanced sort of build, where I had a plus in most categories and anything else I knew I'd be able to make up. Then we choose genetic resistances, and the resistances are based on environmental, so I didn't really put one into another or anything like that. I kind of tried to balance it to where I had most in two categories and then a little bit more in another. So to start off with this game, they give us this fork in the road, and they say life is kind of like about crossroads, and which path you choose defines your key. Now this is the morality system, and based on other games I've played, like Infamous, this one seems a bit rough. I still don't really fully understand how it works, besides the fact that the more light and dark you can get different psi abilities based on it. So it doesn't seem like there's any real consequence to being light or dark besides what abilities you can get faster, because you can go into the world and use different quests or different creatures that you can kill instead of pet that give you more dark points. So even if you're more light, you can be mostly light or mostly dark. They give it a little bit of a variety so that you don't have to be one or the other. So I kind of like that, even though it was a bit rough and kind of hard to fully understand. But the dialogue between the two light and dark entities that kind of follow you is pretty entertaining actually, so I don't mind it too much. Now for the tutorial, they kind of give us the intro cinematic again, but in-game engine. And one thing I want to say is this game looks fucking great. I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of the animations can be a bit wonky, a bit fast. Like you see how he runs and walks. It's like this weird stiff, fast motion. But the graphics of the world and just a lot of the different textures are top. They're top. They're there. You know what I'm saying? And I think graphically, I think that's a big draw. It helps you get past some of the more shaky bits. But you can tell in the combat that there's a soft lock on, kind of like Ghost of Tsushima. This game kind of reminds me of a mix of Ghost of Tsushima, Devil May Cry, and like Fallout, and it's post-apocalyptic, the lush world, and they've got these animals doing kung fu and shooting each other, right? So it's a very interesting premise. I think it's something new that we haven't seen. One of my friends, he relates games to the golden age when he says that they have a PS2 vibe, and I would say that this game maintains a very heavy PlayStation 2 vibe. It kind of also has elements of Ratchet and Clank, you know, the different weapons. You have a little robot sidekick. It's nostalgic in a way. I'm glad they tried something new. The gunplay and the overall style of the combat is fun. It is a bit rough, you know, sometimes with the charging enemies, and it can get a bit repetitive. When you do certain skills, the enemies are shooting you. You know, I play on hard, by the way, you know, real ones play on hard. But overall, it's a great mashup of themes that I think most developers don't try anymore. You know, there's not a lot of variety in the gaming market. I've seen a video where they've referred to this game as a AA title rather than AAA, and THQ Nordic, I think, is known for those AA titles where they've got a decent budget and they do some decent things with it, but there's not that AAA microtransaction heavy style of game, and I can appreciate that from a title. That's why when I saw the early gameplay and some of the trailers for this, I thought it was promising, and I picked it up and I've been enjoying it. It's not something I think I would play all day, every day, and I haven't yet, but sitting down for a few hours, record a little gameplay, and just enjoy this world, it's peaceful, you know, when you're spending time by yourself. And I think that any gamer like that would appreciate that. And that's just my first impression, you know. I still have a few hours left in the game of exploring and picking things up, and outside of the story presentation, I think this is a good game. It's fun, you know. The one thing I'll say is the narrator, I couldn't do it in English. I had to turn it to Japanese, so at least it had an anime feel, you know. It gave me something I'm more familiar with, even though I speak English, but that British voice, I just couldn't do it. It was too monotonous, and it was just too much, you know. It gave it that storybook vibe, and I just wasn't with that, you know. I'm holding katanas and I'm shooting shit. I want to at least hear a different type of voice if I have to hear it over and over and over, since all the little critters speaking native gibberish tongue, you know. It's weird. But outside of the story presentation, some of the ways cut to blacks and some of the cut scenes, the game is good, you know, for the exploration, for the combat, for the crafting. There's a reward that you find exploring this world that I think other games could learn from, making exploration relaxing, you know, fun, something you can really just kind of get into, even if it's just kicking boxes open and building weapons. I think that works for this. So yeah, I think that's my first impression. I think I'll come out with a review once I've played through at least one playthrough. Maybe I'll do two and try the different path and just see what kind of variety is there. I'm not entirely sure yet, but thanks for riding with me, and enjoy your evening. Peace.
Nigga, hit me when you ready, cause I'm on another way. Do for self and separate. Intuition tell a nigga about the heathens in the face. Baby like me, but she cannot have me any kind of way. That's just how it goes, and no, I know not any other way. Always tell it on the beat, no, I'm not tripping off the fame. On this path is like been dishing, I like plenty of this pain. Spirit descending from slaves, adaptation stem from chains. The homie lost his baby brother, why they take that man away? Yeah, my nigga got a daughter, about a year and some change. He didn't come a long way, but it's problems that we face. It's been drama with my mama, but I love her to the grave. It's been issues getting dollars, so I'm picking up the pace. Never had the same face, stay true. She said demons told her what she like to do. She been slashing at her wrist, I hope she find her peace too. They been talking at they neck, so I've been distant like the moon. Ooh. They been talking out they neck, so I've been distant like the moon. Ooh. Hey, you wanna be blessed, but you disrespect the soil.